and you're ready to go to your audition. Or maybe you're just at home and you just want to analyze the script for fun. If that's the case, this is the right video for you. Because in this video, we're going to cover the foundational basics on everything that you need to know for script analysis. In this video, we're going to cover three main things. Number one, an actor's job. Interpretation and detective work. We're going to compare the two, contrast the two, and see how they both help us as actors. Second thing we're going to cover is given circumstance. You guys might have heard that before, but those are the facts. And those facts go right alongside that detective work that is an actor's job as well as interpretation. The third thing that we're going to talk about, or the third person, is Constantin Stanislavski. We're going to just tell you enough about him to basically explain why he's one of the most influential people in the acting community and what technique he developed to be able to have good actors. All right, before we get started, you're going to need two things. Number one, a fun script to work with. If you don't already have a script in mind or don't have one downloaded, go ahead and pause the video and go look for one right now. The second thing that you'll need if you're a paper person is going to be access to a printer. We actually have a digital download in the description that contains a lesson plan packet, worksheets that go right alongside today's lesson and alongside your script. So click that if you'd like to download those for the full benefit of today's class. All right, let's get started. Let's start out by talking about the actor's job, interpretation, and detective work. Interpretation is defined as the action of explaining the meaning of something, or an explanation or way of explaining something. An actor's job is to act, depicting the action of something, being able to explain something, emotionally explain something, physically, body language explain something. That is a very important role in an actor, is this interpretation aspect of it. You guys are probably really familiar with interpretation being used in the context of languages. Right here in this slide, we have a picture of a cat with 3 sentences below it. The truth between all of these statements is that there's some animal that we know of as a cat that is walking across the screen. This is what interpretation is. No matter what, there's a fact that is true between these 3 different sentences. The other aspect of the actor's job is the facts. This is the detective work that we must do, trying to understand the foundational truths behind our characters. As we know from that first example, we had a cat walking. That was the fact behind all of the ways of saying that, i.e. the interpretation or your language choice. I like to use this analogy especially for actors that are starting out, because when you're in auditions and you get turned down by a casting director, sometimes it's not that you got the facts wrong. Sometimes it's just that the director or the casting director didn't understand your interpretation choice. One actor in particular may be able to perfectly match exactly what the vision of this casting director had, and the other actor might have had a really great performance and gotten all the given circumstances, all the facts correct, but just didn't have the same interpretation choice that the casting director would have liked for that role. This is really important to understand, so that way when you don't get an audition, you don't let that discourage you. You just find ways of experimenting more and more with your interpretation choices. So let's go back to the facts on here. Let's talk about given circumstance, the truths of the script. Now these are organized into these 2 categories that you see here, objectives and super objectives, and obstacles and intentions. An objective is what a character wants in a scene. Across the entire story, the entire life unfolding for this character, they may have what's called the super objective. What a character wants, their deep emotional want that is depicted throughout the entire story. You want to try to figure out what the interpretation choice should be, based off of the character's deep emotional want. It can be a daunting task to look at a script and try to figure out, what the heck does my character want? What is their deep emotional need? I don't even know what mine is. There's an activity that is associated with objective and super objective that is part of that lesson plan packet that I talked about in the beginning of today. I wanted to make this activity for you guys, not only to utilize alongside your script, to figure out what your character's objective, super objective is, but I also added a portion that is self-focused. Our work doesn't stop with the character. Our work must translate to ourselves as well. If we can do the same depth of research and analysis within ourselves, we get an astronomically more well-rounded understanding of the character that we're working with. It will make you a better actor to be a better person. Look through that script and try to figure out what you think your character's objective is in that scene, and dive a little bit deeper. What do you think your character's super objective may be? All right, so we just talked about objectives and super objectives, which is one category of given circumstances. Now let's jump into the next category, which is obstacles and intentions. Obstacles and intentions. They sound pretty straightforward. An obstacle is something that stands in the way of the character accomplishing the objective. Take a moment, try to remember, what's the objective? We just talked about it. Exactly, that's correct. Now, the objective is going to be very important for your character, right? That's the main focus in the scene for them, right? The obstacle is going to get in the way of that. Well, let's just give a few examples of what this could be. Something that is in the way, either pushing back with force or just being in the way physically from the character having to go around it. Now, let's get a little bit deeper with it. Maybe it's not just that straightforward. Maybe there's not a character coming in. Maybe there's not a phone ringing. Maybe there's not a physical distraction. Maybe it's something mental that the character came up with in their own minds. These are the non-physical things that happen to us, that are essentially the walls we literally build for ourselves. These are obstacles. Now, intentions. What the character does to overcome the obstacle. There are so many ways that a character can overcome an obstacle. If you have sides or just a small portion of the script, you may not know later on how they overcome that particular psychological obstacle. That is one of the difficult things about sides. If your character doesn't overcome an obstacle in the scene, don't make them overcome the obstacle. Don't worry about that. They didn't overcome it. That's important. That's something to use as your given circumstance. Did they or did they not overcome the obstacle? All right, so we've almost covered all of given circumstance. Objectives and super objectives. Objectives being what the character wants in the scene, and the super objective being the character's deep emotional wants. We've covered obstacles and intentions. Obstacles being something that gets in the way of a character's objective or objectives in a scene, and intentions being that which the character does to overcome the obstacle. I need to talk about somebody very important. These worksheets right here are strongly influenced by this guy's work right here, Stanislavski. Let's talk about this guy right here. This guy, Constantin Stanislavski, he co-founded Moscow Art Theater, and that's 1897 he did that, and that's about the same time that he started doing his fantastic research in developing the method. Now, this is not method acting as we know it today. Method acting has the connotation of, actually it goes right alongside Lee Strasberg, that we'll talk about in our acting technique video. This method, Constantin Stanislavski developed because he really admired the performances of some amazing actors in his Moscow Art Theater. He watched them and he thought, there has to be a way to translate this amazing performance and the techniques of how they can act so realistically and so well. There has to be some way. So he did research and eventually developed the method. Now, for his method, I'm just depicting one aspect of it in this diagram right here. This is his 7-step system that all of script analysis is based around. 7 guiding questions. Number 1, for your character, who am I? That's a huge question, very broad, but it's very important. Who am I? Start with the simple things. Start with the physical traits. That's something to answer about your character. Where am I? Geographic location is going to change many things. It's going to change your blood memory, how you identify yourself in the context of society, as well as personal identity. What time is it? Really? That specific? Yes. You want to get this specific. What time is it? Now, not just time as in, okay, it's 5 p.m. Season. Season is huge. The way that a character exists in a scene is also influenced by what time it is. What do I want? I don't know. What do you want? That's a good question to ask for yourselves as well as your characters. Again, do the work on yourselves and do the work for your characters. Making yourself a better person is going to make you a better actor. What do I want? All right, what does your character want? Do we kind of know what that means? Because we kind of talked about that before. What do I want? What do I want in a scene? What do I want for my entire life? Doesn't that sound familiar? Objective, maybe? Yes, that's correct. Objective and super objective. What do I want? Why do I want it? You can keep asking why until you get to somebody super objective. That's a really good tactic to do. Is figure out what you want, and then keep asking why until you feel like you can't go any further. That's usually when you've reached your super objective. How will I get it? That also sounds like something that we talked about too. How will you get the thing that you want, especially when there's something you must overcome. Oh, right. That's intentions. So Stanislavski made all these guiding questions to be able to have effective actors that are able to empathize. But this is the script analysis portion. Here are the worksheets that you need to really dive into the script that you have. There's a given circumstance worksheet, and there is an obstacles and intention worksheet. When I analyze my scripts, I don't just analyze for my character. I analyze for every character in the script. If I have the time to do that, that is what I'm going to do. Because I want to really understand the relationships that another character has with me as well. Now, the last thing that I had a lot of questions about by my students is, this isn't in the script. How do I answer this? I can't find this answer in the script. You're not going to know everything, all the truths about the script, about your character. That's where interpretation comes in handy. Again, use your imagination. The two very important aspects of Stanislavski's method is imagination and empathy. Remember, those two are going to help you be a believable, grounded actor. All right, so that concludes the first lesson, script analysis, in our Acting 1 teaching series. Stay tuned, there's going to be plenty more videos. We're going to cover things like improvisation for the film actor. We're going to cover working scripts, understanding inner visualization, memorization techniques, and also, my favorite, acting techniques. If you're looking forward to more of these teaching videos, as well as some entertaining videos along the way, please hit subscribe. Thank you guys so much.